The Zeeth were a patient species. They did not rush into battle. They dissected it first. Their war doctrine was built on precision, efficiency, and certainty. So when their fleet detected a lone human warship drifting in contested space, they followed the usual procedure, a complete system scan before destruction. Commander Varric stood within the scan chamber as streams of blue light scrolled across the hololith. The human vessel rotated slowly, its hull scarred with plasma burns and haphazard repairs. To Zeeth eyes, accustomed to elegant symmetry, the sight was offensive. "This is not a warship," muttered one of the analysts. "It's a junk pile pretending to be one." Varric's crest twitched. "Continue." The scan deepened. Internal schematics appeared, revealing patched conduits, mismatched reactor shielding, and weapon systems bolted onto external plating with little regard for alignment. Cargo bays had been converted into barracks, storage rooms into hydroponics. A hangar carried an agricultural dome of all things. The analysts began to laugh, the clicking sound echoing in the chamber. To them, this was evidence of a doomed species, clumsy, undisciplined, incapable of discipline and design. But then the laughter stopped. Deeper scans revealed something that unsettled even the most arrogant observer. Every patch, every modification, every irregularity had a purpose. The reactor had 3 redundant loops, impossible by Zeeth standards of efficiency, but granting survivability far beyond regulation. The mismatched weapons covered firing arcs in ways no symmetrical array could. The agricultural dome doubled as a chemical recycler. The ship was ugly, yes, but ugly like a scarred beast that had survived too many battles to count. This vessel, Varric's voice dropped, it has been destroyed a dozen times, and yet it still endures. On board the human warship ISS Audacity, Captain Elena Navarro sat in a command chair, posture straight, but eyes weary. She had long ago stopped caring how their ship looked. What mattered was that it kept flying. "Report," she ordered. Chief Engineer Malik Okafor poked his head up from behind a panel, hair tied back with a strip of wiring insulation. His coveralls were smeared with coolant stains. "Reactor stable, for now. Life support holding together with duct tape and prayer. Weapons, well, let's say they'd work better if we threw them by hand." Navarro arched an eyebrow. "That bad?" "Worse," Malik said, but his grin softened the words. Lieutenant Sophia Ibarra leaned over the navigation console, gaze fixed on the endless scatter of stars. She always looked that way, half focused on the job, half lost in distant constellations. "We're being watched," she said quietly. "How do you know?" Navarro asked. Sophia tapped the glass. "See the faint shimmer along that vector? That's an active scan. Not standard Z frequencies, but close enough." She looked up, eyes bright. "They're studying us." "Then let's give them a show," Navarro murmured. At the rear of the bridge, Sergeant Ace Kowalski was juggling a ration pack like it was a grenade. His boots were up on the console, his grin wide. "Let him stare. Maybe they'll die laughing before they fire a shot." Navarro shot him a look. "Feet. Down." He obeyed, eventually, kicking the console once for good measure. The crew was a mismatched lot, but that was the way of the Audacity. Years of surviving the impossible had forged them into something more than officers and engineers. They were a family held together by stubbornness, sarcasm, and the refusal to die quietly. Back in the Z flagship, Varric listened as analysts delivered conflicting reports. The humans are reckless. Their systems contradict logic. Their resilience borders on pathological. Varric silenced them. Resilience is not to be underestimated. Our simulations predicted human fleets should have collapsed cycles ago, and yet every campaign has failed to erase them. He pointed to the hololith. "This ship explains why." The analysts hesitated. "You mean improvisation?" "Yes. They do not follow design. They adapt. Every injury, every loss becomes part of their vessel. It grows not by blueprint, but by necessity. That is why this ship terrifies me." On the Audacity, Navarro called a meeting in the cramped wardroom. The crew gathered around a table scarred with years of meals and emergency repairs. "They're scanning us," Navarro began. which means they're considering their options. We need to be ready. Malik snorted. Ready? Captain, the only thing we're ready for is a spectacular explosion, preferably far away from my engine room. Sophia raised a hand. They'll expect us to fight like they do. Clean strategies, predictable responses. But we don't have to. Navarro nodded. Exactly. We've survived this long because we don't play by their rules. We fight our way. Ace leaned forward, eyes gleaming. So you're saying it's time for some mischief? Controlled mischief, Navarro corrected. Is that even a thing? Ace grinned. Malik muttered, not with him around. The room filled with quiet laughter, but the undertone was serious. They all knew what was coming. They all knew survival was never guaranteed. But they were human, and that meant something. The Zeeth scans ended with a final pulse. Data filled their archives, a complete analysis of the Audacity. Yet the conclusion was not the neat efficiency they expected. It was chaos. It was defiance. It was a warship that should not exist, and yet did, flying on ingenuity, stubbornness, and the will of its crew. Commander Varick felt a rare shiver of doubt. He turned to his officers. This vessel cannot be underestimated. To face it is to face not technology, but a mindset. They bend rules until rules break. They survive where survival is impossible. And if we fight them, we must be prepared for anything. The alien officers stared at the grotesque ship projected before them. For the first time, they did not laugh. On the Audacity, the ship hummed with uneasy anticipation. Navarro stood at the viewport, hands clasped behind her back, watching the stars for any sign of movement. Captain, Sophia said softly, do you think they're afraid of us? Navarro's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. If they aren't now, they will be. And deep within the hull, the patched and battered warship stirred, power systems flaring to life. The humans had been scanned, studied, and mocked, but they were still here, still alive, and they were ready to fight. The Zeeth commander, Varick, did not waste time with ceremony. After the scan concluded, he gave his fleet a single command: test the humans. A probing action, not a decisive strike. If this patchwork warship folded at the first push, then his doubts would be silenced. 6 assault craft detached from the flagship, sleek, symmetrical. Each one carried enough firepower to vaporize a small asteroid. To the Zeeth, it was a modest gesture. To most enemies, it was certain death. On the ISS Audacity, alarms howled. Red light bathed the bridge, painting the crew in streaks of urgency. Contacts inbound, reported Sophia, her eyes locked on the tactical display. 6 Zeeth attack wings, closing fast. Navarro's voice cut through the noise, steady as ever. Malik, I need guns hot. Sophia, plot us an escape vector. Ace, I already know, Ace interrupted with a grin. Make something explode. Look at doing it. Navarro shot him a flat look, but didn't argue. Sometimes it was easier to let him script his own orders. Malik slammed a fist against his console. Captain, those guns are being held together with spit and stubbornness. If we fire too long, the conduits will fry. Then don't fire too long, Navarro replied. Malik groaned, muttering something about engineers dying young. The Zeeth craft approached in perfect formation, gliding like blades of glass across the void. To Commander Varick, the engagement was already decided. Precision always triumphed over chaos. But as the first salvo left their cannons, the humans surprised them. The Audacity lurched sideways, not with the grace of a military vessel, but with a drunken stagger, its thrusters firing in erratic bursts. The Zeeth beams missed, tearing empty space. Captain, Malik shouted, our lateral thrusters are out of sync. Then leave them out of sync, Navarro said. It makes us harder to hit. Ace hooped. See? We're geniuses by accident. The first exchange lit the stars. Malik rerouted mining lasers, tools once meant for asteroid drilling, into makeshift turrets. They spat beams of pale orange fire, cutting across the Z formation. They'll adapt, Sophia warned, her voice tight. They always adapt. Then we keep changing faster, Navarro replied. Malik cackled. Captain, You just gave an engineer permission to break every regulation in the book. He tore into the controls, bypassing safeties, rerouting energy through conduits that should never have touched weapons. Sparks showered around him, but the guns roared to life with twice their normal output. The first Zeeth craft burst apart under the unexpected barrage. On the alien flagship, Varick's crest stiffened. How did they? The analyst stammered. Those weren't weapons. They converted tools into armaments mid-battle. Impossible. But the wreckage of his fighter told a different story. The fight escalated. The Zeeth shifted into a wider arc, attempting to flank. Navarro anticipated the move. Sophia, give me debris. Sophia nodded, hands flying over controls. She redirected the ship's maneuvering jets toward a derelict satellite drifting nearby. The Audacity clipped it deliberately, shattering the husk into a field of jagged fragments. The human ship dove through the cloud of debris, weaving between tumbling wreckage. The Zeeth, precise and efficient, faltered. Their formation splintered as their sleek hulls scraped against metal shards. Ace laughed over comms. Who needs shield when you've got cosmic trash? Focus. Navarro barked, though even she felt a flicker of pride. The Zeeth regrouped quickly, pressing again. This time, their beams cut deep into the Audacity's hull. Warning lights flared. Atmosphere vented from a ruptured corridor. Containment breach on Deck 5. Malik shouted. Seal it! Navarro ordered. Malik slammed the control, bulkheads clanging shut. He winced at the damage reports. Captain, we can't keep this up. Another hit like that, and we're stardust. Then we don't get hit again, Navarro said. Brilliant plan, Malik muttered. Why didn't I think of that? Navarro turned to Sophia. Options. Sophia's gaze drifted across the tactical map, tracing patterns invisible to others. They're disciplined. Too disciplined. They move like dancers following choreography. If we break rhythm, we can throw them off. Navarro considered it. Ace! He saluted lazily. Already warming up the shuttle? Captain. Stuffed it with spare engine parts, and, don't ask me how, fireworks. Malik nearly dropped his tools. You're going to what? Make a distraction, Ace said cheerfully. Or a crater. Either way, fun. Minutes later, a tiny shuttle detached from the Audacity. Ace hooped over the comms as he spun it in drunken spirals, thrusters belching uneven bursts. To the Zeeth, it appeared unstable, perhaps even damaged. The assault craft shifted focus, targeting the smaller vessel. Ace flicked a switch. The cargo bay of the shuttle disgorged engine parts, scrap metal, and inexplicably, streaks of colorful flares. In the cold void, the fireworks bloomed like artificial supernovas. The Zeeth pilots faltered, their senses blinded by heat blooms and false signatures. In that instant of confusion, the Audacity struck. Malik unleashed every improvised weapon at once. Mining lasers, jury-rigged plasma vents, even a cargo railgun that fired compressed barrels of waste metal. The onslaught shattered 2 more Zeeth ships. On the bridge, Sophia exhaled. They're pulling back. Navarro's voice remained calm, but her shoulders relaxed an inch. Maintain pursuit distance. Don't give them an easy target. Ace's voice crackled through comms. See? Shuttle fireworks. Tactical genius. Return to ship before you test my patience, Navarro replied. Malik groaned. And bring back my shuttle in one piece. Define one piece, Ace said. Back aboard the flagship, Commander Varick watched the surviving fighters retreat. He should have been angry. Instead, he was silent. Their ship is chaos, an analyst whispered. Their crew improvises recklessly. They should have lost. Yes, Varick said slowly. They should have. And yet they did not. He stared at the image of the battered human warship, its scars glowing red with fresh wounds, still defiantly moving forward. They do not fight with precision, he said at last. They fight with imagination, and that is far more dangerous. On the Audacity, the crew gathered in the wardroom once more, the ship groaned around them, systems strained nearly to breaking. Navarro looked at each of them in turn. Sophia, still lost in her maps of stars. Malik, hunched with exhaustion, but already drafting repairs in his mind. Ace, grinning as if near death were a game. "You all did well," Navarro said simply. Malik snorted. "If well, you mean survive by sheer luck, then yes. Excellent job, everyone." Ace clapped him on the back. "Don't sell yourself short, document. Your guns work beautifully." "They're not guns," Malik grumbled. "They're disasters waiting to happen." "And yet," Navarro said, a rare smile touching her lips, "they worked." The room grew quiet. Outside the hull, stars drifted endlessly. The Zeeth would return, and in greater force. They all knew it, but for tonight, they had proven something. They were not an easy target. They were not predictable. And against enemies who lived by efficiency, that was their greatest weapon. The respite did not last. Hours after their skirmish, the ISS Audacity drifted at reduced power, engines aching and hull scorched. Inside, the crew patched, welded, and improvised. Every corridor smelled of overheated metal and recycled air. Malik muttered curses in 3 languages as he coaxed the reactor back into stability, while Sophia recalibrated sensors with delicate precision. Navarro walked the ship slowly, not as a captain surveying soldiers, but as a caretaker checking on family. She read exhaustion in every face, but also defiance. Her people had learned to live in the space between disaster and survival. Then the alarm shrieked again. Sophia's voice trembled as she reported from the bridge. Multiple signatures. "Captain, it's not a probe this time. It's a fleet." "How many?" Navarro asked. "Dozens. At least 2 capital ships and—" She swallowed hard. "A carrier." The bridge fell silent. Even Ace, lounging with his usual bravado, straightened at that. Navarro pressed her lips together. The Zeeth had stopped testing. Now they meant to finish it. On the alien flagship, Commander Varick studied the formation. He had doubled the strike force. The humans had embarrassed them once. It would not happen again. Yet part of him hesitated. The image of that battered warship lingered in his mind. Ugly, chaotic, resilient. He silenced the doubt with discipline. Numbers would prevail. Efficiency always triumphed. The first salvo hit the Audacity like a hammer. Shields buckled, plating ripped. Malik was thrown against a bulkhead, ribs aching as he clawed his way back to the console. "Captain, shields are gone," he shouted. "One more hit and we're space dust." Navarro braced herself. "Then we make sure that one hit never lands." Ace leaned back, grinning despite the chaos. "I've got an idea. You're not going to like it." "Start talking," Navarro said. The idea was reckless, even for Ace. The Zeeth carrier deployed drones, sleek machines designed for precision strikes. Ace proposed they capture one mid-flight, rig it with explosives, and send it home. Malik stared at him. "That's not an idea. That's a suicide note." Ace shrugged. "Sometimes they look the same." Sophia's soft voice cut through. "It could work. The drones respond predictably. If we disrupt their signal, we can override control." Her eyes shone with a strange light, half fear, half wonder. But it will take perfect timing. Navarro made her choice. "Do it." The plan unfolded in desperate minutes. Sophia fed false telemetry to the drones, luring one close. Malik rerouted power, straining systems beyond safe limits. Ace strapped himself into an exosuit, humming cheerfully as though preparing for a stroll. "Captain," Malik warned, "if he misses the timing, the drone won't just kill him. It'll punch a hole in the ship big enough to vent half the crew." Navarro didn't flinch. "He won't miss." Ace winked through his visor. "See? She believes in me." Malik groaned. "She believes in physics. Don't make her regret it." The drone swooped toward them, weapons glowing. Sophia shouted, "Now!" The Audacity's tractor array snapped on. The drone jerked, resisted, then collapsed into the ship's magnetic grip. The hull groaned under the strain, sparks flaring as systems overloaded. Ace launched himself out of the airlock, tumbling across the void. With magnetic boots, he clamped onto the captured drone, laughing into comms. "Hello, beautiful. Let's dance." Inside, Malik's fingers flew across controls. I'm giving you exactly 90 seconds of power. After that, everything shuts down. Plenty, Ace said, already prying open the drone's casing. He wedged in canisters of unstable fuel cells, whistling as he worked. Boom in a box. Just like home. Sophia's voice guided him gently. Adjust the signal uplink. Yes, there. Redirect here. Got it, dreamer. Ace slammed the hatch shut. Package is wrapped. Bring it back. Navarro ordered. Ace chuckled. Negative, Captain. This delivery is one way. Navarro's chest tightened, but she said nothing. Ace lived for madness. She only prayed it wouldn't end him. The drone broke free, carrying its deadly payload. It streaked toward the Zeeth carrier, transmitting obedient codes. To the enemy, it appeared as a loyal soldier returning. Varick's analyst confirmed its approach. One drone damaged but functional, requesting docking. Accept it, Varick ordered. Efficiency meant recycling assets. The drone slid into the carrier's bay. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then Ace's modifications triggered. The explosion ripped through the carrier's hangar, chain reacting with stored munitions. A fireball blossomed in the void, engulfing half the vessel. The Zeeth fleet wavered in shock. On the Audacity, the crew cheered, except Navarro. She was staring at the empty comms channel. Ace, she asked. Static. Then his voice crackled through, ragged but triumphant. Told you it would work. Also, might need a pickup. My shuttle broke again. Relief crashed over crew. Even Malik laughed through his exhaustion. You're insane. Insanely useful, Ace replied. But victory came at a price. The Audacity was nearly broken. Hull integrity dipped below safe margins. Life support barely clung to function, and Malik's improvised system sparked dangerously. Navarro knew they could not endure another wave. The Zeeth fleet still loomed, furious now, their precision shaken but not shattered. She gathered her officers in the wardroom. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and barely holding together, Navarro said. The next assault could be our last. Silence weighed heavy. Then Sophia spoke, voice quiet but steady. They think linearly. We don't. That's our edge. We don't need to win. We just need to make them doubt. If they fear us more than they hate us, we survive. Navarro studied her. Sophia, the dreamer, saw possibilities where others saw walls. Perhaps she was right. Malik rubbed his temples. Captain, we got enough power for one gamble. One. After that, the lights go out. Navarro nodded slowly. Then one gamble will have to be enough. On the flagship, Varick clenched his claws. The carrier was crippled. Casualties mounted. Yet the humans still fought. This is not war, he whispered. This is defiance. His officers looked to him for orders. Efficiency demanded another strike, overwhelming and final. But Varick certainly wavered. Every time the humans should have died, they adapted. Every time efficiency dictated victory, chaos intervened. For the first time, he wondered if efficiency was a wrong doctrine entirely. On the Audacity, the crew strapped in. Systems flickered, patched together with whatever Malik had left. The ship creaked like an old beast refusing to die. Navarro gripped the arm of her chair, eyes blazing. All right, people. One last trick. Let's make it count. The battered warship surged forward, heading straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. The ISS Audacity plunged into the heart of the Z formation, a scarred predator among pristine blades. Enemy ships scattered to encircle it, beams of light carving the void. Shields were long gone. Only patched armor and sheer stubbornness stood between the crew and oblivion. Malik, Navarro said calmly, though the ship quaked beneath her. Status. Status. Malik barked, sweat streaming down his temples. We're a flying scrapyard held together by chewing gum and my will to live. But if you're asking if we can still bite, yes, we can. Good enough, Navarro replied. Ace hooped over comms from the gunnery pod. Let's show these shiny lizards what chaos looks like. On the flagship, Commander Varick tightened his claws around a command rail. He expected the humans to retreat, to cling desperately to survival. Instead, they charged directly into superior firepower. This is not strategy, one analyst whispered. No, Varric said grimly. This is something worse. The Audacity's bridge shuddered as beams slammed into her hull. Alarm screamed. Sophia's fingers danced over controls, her eyes distant, calculating patterns invisible to others. They're coordinating to trap us, she murmured. Left flank closing, right flank slower. They're mirroring their own movements. Which means, Navarro asked, it means they can't imagine us not following the same dance, Sophia said, a rare smile tugging at her lips. So let's ruin their choreography. Navarro nodded. Do it. Sophia's plan was simple madness. She guided the Audacity into an erratic spin, engines firing in uneven bursts. To Zeeth eyes, it was disorder. To human eyes, it was opportunity. Enemy ships overcorrected. Try and predict what could not be predicted. Their beams carved each other instead of the target. The void filled with their own wreckage. Malik shouted, We're venting fuel reserves. We'll run dry in minutes. Then we finish in minutes, Navarro said. Ace fired volley after volley, jury-rig cannons glowing dangerously hot. Captain, I've got about 3 shots left before the barrels melt. I say we make them count. Then aim true, Navarro said. He grinned. Always do. His last barrage slammed into a cruiser's bridge, splitting it open like fruit. But victory was far from secure. The flagship loomed ahead, colossal and unbroken. Its weapons banks powered up, enough firepower to vaporize the Audacity in a single blast. On its bridge, Varric gave the order. End them. Malik swore as the reading spiked. Captain, we won't survive this. Unless, Navarro demanded. He hesitated. Unless we overload the reactor. The room went still. Everyone knew what that meant. Navarro's gaze was steady. Explain. We fake a meltdown. Push the reactor to the brink. Vent the energy. It'll look like we're tearing ourselves apart. They'll close in to watch us die. That's when we hit them with an EMP surge. Fry their systems long enough for us to escape. And if you miscalculate? Sophia asked softly. Then we actually tear ourselves apart, Malik admitted. Ace laughed. Love it. Let's roll the dice. Navarro looked at each of them in turn. Malik, weary but brilliant. Sophia, dreamer turned tactician. Ace, reckless and fearless. They had followed her through fire, and they trusted her now. Do it, she said. Malik bent over the console, sweat dripping into his eyes. His hands blurred as he bypassed safeties and rerouted energy through unstable conduits. Sparks showered. Warning klaxons howled. The reactor's hum deepened. A throbbing pulse felt through every deck. Lights flickered. Air grew hot and metallic. To outside sensors, it was unmistakable. A core about to go critical. The Zeeth ships pulled closer, circling like carrion. Even Varric leaned forward, intrigued. At last they collapse. Inside, Sophia murmured coordinates, guiding the ship's wild lurches into deliberate placement. Closer, closer, hold now. Malik slammed the final switch. The Audacity erupted in a blinding surge of energy, not an explosion, but a wave. The EMP pulse rippled outward, invisible but devastating. Zeeth ships froze mid-maneuver, systems crashing into silence. Even the flagship staggered, its weapons going dark. Navarro seized the moment. Engines, full burn. Malik shouted, Engines? We barely have. Now. He obeyed. The Audacity roared forward, battered thrusters screaming. Slipping to the stunned formation, the humans fled into open space, leaving chaos in their wake. On the flagship, power sputtered back seconds later. Varric's officers shouted in panic. They disabled us. They escaped. Varric stared at the empty void where the human warship had been. His claws trembled. We studied them as machines. But they are not machines. They are unpredictable. They are dangerous beyond calculation. Back on the Audacity, silence reigned as the crew drifted free of pursuit. Systems flickered, battered but alive. Navarro finally exhaled. Report. Malik slumped against his console. Reactor stable. Barely. Engines fried. But we're alive. Sophia allowed herself a small, luminous smile. They'll remember us. Ace leaned back, wiping sweat from his brow. So, Captain, does this count as a win? Because I feel like a hero. A sweaty, hungry hero who wants a burrito. Malik groaned. You almost killed us all. And yet, Ace said cheerfully, we lived. You're welcome. Navarro shook her head, but her lips curved faintly. They had survived, again, not through superior firepower, but through ingenuity, audacity, and sheer refusal to yield. Far away, the Z fleet regrouped. Their analysts replayed the battle again and again, searching for logic. None appeared. Every pattern dissolved into madness. Their final report was simple. Humans cannot be predicted. Humans cannot be controlled. To face them is to face chaos given form. Fear them. In the wardroom, Navarro gathered her crew. The ship groaned around them, scarred but unbroken. Today, we prove what it means to be human, she said. Not perfection, not power, adaptability, creativity, the will to survive when survival seems impossible. That is our strength. Malik raised an eyebrow. That and duct tape. Sophia added softly, and dreams. Ace lifted a ration pack like a toast. And burritos. Laughter filled the room, tired but genuine. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched endless and unyielding. The Audacity sailed on, scarred but defiant, a living symbol of humanity's greatest weapon, themselves.